So if you're not aware, Ubisoft, they're the ones that kind of kickstarted the whole stop killing games thing, which is a little funny when you look at it in the context of what we're going to talk about today. Because what happened was, of course, as described here in this PC Gamer article that you can see here. Let's see. So Stop Killing Games advocates for increased regulations to prevent game developers and publishers from shutting down games after official support for them ends. At Ubisoft's annual shareholder meeting, the question was posed in the context of Ubisoft's online racer, The Crew, the shutdown of which became the catalyst for the Stop Killing Games initiative. As you can see here, going back in April of 2024, and it basically was a response to The Crew being shut down completely, rendering the 10-year-old racing game unplayable due to, it said, server infrastructure and licensing constraints. And that kind of kickstarted this whole movement. So at this general shareholders meeting, which if you don't know, this is basically just where executives go sit in like a room in front of a bunch of investors and some employees, and they answer questions about it. Yves Guillemot, the CEO of Ubisoft, the man himself, he sat up there and answered some of these questions. And one of the questions he was asked was about Stop Killing Games, which is a little funny. It's why I do, honestly, they did a pretty good job with this investor shareholder meeting. The investors, I mean, like they did not pull punches. They came out kind of swinging. Like one person at one point started like kind of low-key yelling at Yves Guillemot over the like the share price plummeting over the last decade or so, which was a little funny. But I would just play you the audio of him answering this. But again, he's French and he's being live translated.
The company was not found liable for any of the claims that were taken against the company for misconduct.
Oh, that sounds like a fun section to discuss. But as you can tell, it's kind of dry. The dialogue is dry. The performance is dry. So we'll rely on some snippets. They were asked about, some of the allegations of misconduct, which is what he's answering there, which is a subject for a whole other video as well. But as you can see here, he was asked about Stop Killing Games. As noted by GameFile, Guillemot was asked whether he supported the petition, whether players own a Ubisoft game when they purchase it, and how Ubisoft plans to ensure its games remain playable after support is discontinued. Dude, the balls to ask like the CEO of Ubisoft to just be like, hey, so when I buy your product, do I actually own it? Or do you side with like your employee who was saying gamers might need to get comfortable with not owning anything? Like, what do you think of that? I respect the hell out of these people that just got right up in there and asked the questions. However awkward it may be, they just got in there and asked the question. You got to respect it. Guillemot initially responded by defending the amount of support Ubisoft provides for its games at present. Regarding the petition, I would do it in a French accent, but that would be distasteful. We operate in a market, which is true. We're on a planet. And when we release a game, we provide a lot of support for that game. We also provide a lot of services to make sure the game is accessible and remains playable 24/7. Guillemot also stated that players and buyers are forewarned when a Ubisoft game is going to be shut down, and that The Crew, specifically Ubisoft, offered its successor, The Crew 2, on sale for €1 for a fortnight to provide the original, or prior to the original game's shuttering. For just €1, they got to buy the next version. €1. It's not a lot of money to be able to continue playing a game. I mean, you're creating a problem, then you're selling them the solution. I mean, if you gave it away for free, that'd be fine. I could be okay with that. One thing that makes me wonder about it, so with The Crew specifically, if you don't know the Crew, in The Crew, there's like a crap ton of course, name brand vehicles, okay? Whether you're talking about like Ferrari or Porsche or Jeep or Lamborghini or whatever. And as a result of this, there are licensing deals that take place. And I remember when this first went down back in April of last year, we talked about this a good amount, because what Ubisoft basically pointed the finger to for a lot of the Crew stuff being shut down was because their licensing agreements with some of these car companies were expiring. So they couldn't continue to sell the game, which is, I mean, that's an issue of the negotiations to begin with. Like, I don't think you should negotiate licensing deals that have an end date for a product you're selling to somebody. It's a similar thing that actually happened with Mafia 3. If you don't know, Mafia 3, when it launched, had a bunch of like Southern music from that time, even though it was a fictionalized version of New Orleans. they had actual historical music, such as old Elvis music. And when I think it was 5 years hit, I think it was 2021, their licensing deal for that music expired. And so they updated Mafia 3 and they removed all the Elvis music. It was quite depressing because at one time, Mafia 3 had one of the best soundtracks ever. You could just drive around in that game, even though it's bland as hell. You could just drive around listening to Elvis on the radio. It was goated, man. It was really cool. But because of how they negotiated the licensing deal, they lost the music and had to cut it out. That seems insane to me. I don't think you should negotiate deals. Like, if you can't have the music in the game forever, just don't put the music in the game. Like, I just don't like the idea that you're putting something in a game and you're like, yeah, so you bought the game, but you lose this after a little while. Like, that just is so dumb to me. It's insane. And it's a similar thing with The Crew and with these other games that use licensed vehicles. It seems that there was some negotiation, if they're telling the truth, which this does kind of make sense to me, that they probably did negotiate a deal. Hey, you can use the Aventador for 10 years in your game, and then no more. You don't get to sell the game anymore. That's probably honestly what happened. And then Ubisoft just didn't see it as a big deal. So like, yeah, we'll just shut down the game at that point and get everybody to buy the second game for more money. Like, makes sense how they could think that way. And I think what happened was they did that. And the reason why, I'm guessing they still had to sell it for $1 or €1. A lot of contracts like this, as we've talked about them on stream and stuff, they tend to have some verbiage of like maybe the brand like Lamborghini or Porsche has some agreement that you can't give away their product and can't give away their car because that might make it feel like it's cheap and not luxury or something. So they can't give away the game that contains the cars for free. They have to sell it for something. That might be why. Otherwise, I'm like, just give away The Crew too and get people to spend money on microtransactions there. But if they're selling it, I'm guessing it's probably some sort of contract loophole or something. But anyway, it's not really important. The important point is that they sold gamers a game, and they say it's because the licensing deals that expired that made it so they had to remove the game from existence, which feels bad, man. Feels bad. Thank you guys for the super chats, by the way. I'll read those in just a minute. But he continues on. Okay. I'm not sure Guillemon's conflation of The Crew 2 as a sequel and a continuation of the original game's service is justified here, since the two are separate games. I think, again, if they set it up this way, where they always from the beginning had the idea that when the licensing deals expire, we shut down The Crew and we move everybody to The Crew 2, which has a fresh set of licensing deals for another decade. And then we'll do the same thing when The Crew 3 comes around. And that's just their idea. They're treating it like it's just the same product. It's the same platform, but the licensing deals separate it. I'm guessing that's what they're doing. But I mean, I agree. It's not just a hand wave away. Okay, no, it's fine. Just have The Crew too. It's like, no, I bought The Crew. I want The Crew. You don't get to just take it away. And I understand before some people get in here and they're like, well, Luke, technically that's how the EULA works and that's how it's worked in the games industry is you're buying a license. I agree that's how it's worked historically. That doesn't mean I have to like it, you know? I agree that's how it works. I don't have to support it or like it or say it's cool. Like, I want it to be different. That's my perspective. Is it possible for a game to be both, as demonstrated by Valve when it overwrote Counter-Strike Global Offensive with Counter-Strike 2, but that was a direct replacement handed out for free, while you can still play CSGO by reverting to an older build and playing on community servers? Moreover, if the point of Ubisoft's sale was indeed to allow players of The Crew to jump ship, or indeed car, then this doesn't appear to have been made clear by Ubisoft at the time. Anyway, Guillemot then points out that, quote, all video game publishers are faced with the issue of changing or ending services. You provide a service, but nothing is written in stone. And at some point, the service may be discontinued. Nothing is eternal. And we are doing our best to make sure that things go well for players and buyers, because obviously support for all games cannot last forever. And I think this is the thing. This is the conflation that happens whenever we talk about this thing. It's like, you wouldn't expect them to support the game forever. No, what's being asked most of the time is for like some alternative to be offered. whether that is private servers, whether it's peer-to-peer stuff, whether it's community servers that they host and pay for, just something. I pointed to the example of a game I played like crazy back in the day, which was Stronghold Crusader. Stronghold Crusader allows you to just do peer-to-peer stuff. Just have like a LAN party and just play that way. They don't have to support that game. That game came out in like what, 2001 or something, 2002? Like, just do that. Just do that. Like, give us the option to play it. I understand. Well, what about the security concerns of playing peer-to-peer? Yeah, it's always a concern. It's also a risk when you Google something and click on a link. Yeah, but you're an adult. You'll figure it out. You'll be okay. I think it really, when you start to see people kind of creating straw men to attack, and it's like, oh, so you want Ubisoft to support the game forever. No, that's not what I said. I said we want an option so the thing I bought doesn't just disappear. I want there to be some possible way for me to play the thing I bought. I understand it may not be the same like in its heyday, like you buy or you play a shooter and there's a ton of players online when you first buy it, but later in its lifespan, the player numbers drop, so it's harder to find matches. That's just a reality of reality. I mean, that's of course going to happen. But I do think that there's something to be said for, so that is an element. But I think it's really disingenuous when people take what you're saying and then try to twist it into something you're not saying to then attack it. Because that's just, building a straw man so that you can beat it down easier. What's being asked for with the Stop Killing Games movement is for some way of the product you purchase still being functional. We understand that it's unreasonable for you to support a game perpetually, which is why that's not what's being asked for or demanded or requested, however you want to phrase it. And when somebody like intentionally misrepresents it, I just think it's really disingenuous. Like, they know what they're doing. They know what they're like. Say what you will about Yves Guillemot. Say what you will about him. This is not a dumb man. Like, you don't build a company from nothing into a multi-billion-dollar corporation spanning the globe unless you're fairly sharp. Okay? I don't know about his kids. I don't know about his nephews or nieces or cousins or whatever that are also in executive leadership positions. But I do think if you build a company from nothing into a multi-billion-dollar international conglomerate, you probably know what you're doing. You're probably a pretty sharp dude. So I don't believe for a second that he like, oh, they want us to support games forever. I don't think so. I don't think that's what, I don't think he actually believes that's what the movement is saying. I think he's trying to defend where he's at. Because I'm sure a licensing deal to keep Lamborghinis in the crew forever instead of just a hard-gated date cutoff, I'm sure that's way more expensive and cuts into the bottom line, and that's not ideal. So he'd rather negotiate a deal that has a set expiration date and just do that, just do that. Not he failed upwards. For him, what's interesting, I don't know if you know this. I mentioned this on stream once, and people thought it was funny. Yves Guillemot, the Guillemot family, actually, they are kind of a powerhouse in the games industry. And funnily enough, the Guillemot family, the brothers, have founded multiple different companies over the years. And you know this company, Gameloft? Gameloft was founded in 1999 by Michel Guillemot, one of the 5 founders of Ubisoft. What? Yeah. Yves' brother, who I'm sure is a nice guy, little scary looking. Little scary look. I'm just going to be real. Very nice guy, I'm sure. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. I feel like once you're a multi-billionaire, I get to comment on your looks. I feel like that's fair. That's fair game. If I'm ever a multi-billionaire, I feel like you guys get to make fun of whatever you want about me. It's fair. Yeah. But he he started Gameloft and blew that up into a massive company. So it's just the Guillemot family, they were able to build out multiple multi-billion-dollar game companies out of France through like the late 90s into the 2000s. And they were just a powerhouse family, I guess. It's worth noting here, Stop Killing Games does not demand unceasing support for games by publishers. In its website FAQ, Stop Killing Games states, quote, "It is in favor of publishers ending support for a game whenever they choose. What we are asking for is they implement an end-of-life plan to modify or patch the game so they can run it on customers' systems with no further support from the company being necessary." Yes. And I understand the game may not be the same as it was, unsupported versus supported. Before anybody's like, it's going to be different. Yes, I understand. What we're saying is, like, before you shut off World of Warcraft in 20 years, if it somehow ever dies, like, before you shut off World of Warcraft, allow for private servers. Like, put that in. I understand it won't be as maybe massive and cool and crazy as the public ones that you have now, but just something, you know? Just something. That's what's being asked. And again, whenever somebody, like, you're making a very clear, simple statement like that, something that is in the FAQ, that in, you know, a 2 sentences clearly explains what is being asked for, but then you still have people intentionally misrepresenting it to attack that straw man. That's when they're being disingenuous, you know. That's what I'm saying. In fairness to Ubisoft, it has claimed that such safeguards will be put in place for The Crew 2, which Guillemot likewise pointed to in his response. Quote, "We also announced that the game would be available offline in the future so that players could continue to play it. So this is an issue that we've been dealing with," which, yes, in case you were not aware, they did say that they want to put in offline modes for The Crew 2 so that, you know, this issue doesn't happen again. So they are taking steps to deal with it. It's apparently too late for The Crew 1, but they apparently already have like testing happening for this offline mode, and they hope to have it out by the end of this year. So I hope that is the new standard. I hope that is what they're doing, and that they actually are going to stick to it. That's the hope. But yes, that is their plan, according to their public statements. Guillemot concludes by reiterating the point about services having a shelf life. Quote, "The lifespan of a piece of software, whenever there is a service component, eventually services may be discontinued because eventually the software may become obsolete over time. A lot of the tools become obsolete after 10 or 15 years down the line. They're no longer available. And that is why we release a new version. So we have version 2 and version 3, but clearly this is a far-reaching issue and we are working on it." Yeah, I think the industry is just changing. And it's why I think, you know, something like Stop Killing Games is just good because it starts the conversation. You're getting like investors at a shareholder meeting asking the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company these questions about it. And it started as a little petition online. And the whole point of the petition is to get the conversation started and start things happening. And now you're getting the CEO directly responding to it. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of those petitions, is to get things moving. And so what started as just people signing a piece of paper, digital paper, I guess, is now leading to direct confrontations and discussions within shareholder meetings. Like, that's the point. That's how we know this is working. So it's good to see. It's good to see. And already, I mean, like I said, they claim to be adding offline modes to The Crew 2 and to some of their other products. And so the hope is that this has impact, not just for Ubisoft, but for other companies as well. You know, that's the hope. That's the hope. Yeah. Sorry, Thor. Sorry, buddy. Sorry. He took my thing.